Hey guys, Comet here. Welcome back to my Needy Duplicant series. This is episode 9 now. In the last episode, I put in this water tank here towards the end of the episode. I've been letting the game run a little bit between episodes, so now this tank is quite full. I've let these pumps clean up this area a bit, but carbon dioxide is becoming a real problem. It's causing so much pressure that it actually forced the natural gas up into my base here. So there's two ways I can solve this. I can burn off this natural gas in the natural gas generators down here, but then the carbon dioxide is still going to keep rising, and it's going to push the sour gas and the chlorine up into the base. So the second method of solving this is just to dig out more space to give the CO2 somewhere to go. And that aligns with what I said I wanted to do in the last episode anyway. So I just want to explore the map, and that's going to require a lot of digging, which will open up some space for all the CO2 to flow into. I could put in a whole bunch of air scrubbers, or CO2 scrubbers, but that'll cost power and sand, because it has to be run back through water sieves to clean it. But I have two diggers now. I picked up Freya in the last episode, so I'm just going to start issuing a whole bunch of dig commands. Now, I don't want to just completely destroy these colder biomes. I kind of like preserving them. So I might go around this one. All these other biomes I'm not too worried about, like the slime biome, the salt biome. Yeah, I can just dig straight through all those. And any water that falls onto the ground will just be picked up by these pumps here, cleaned up, and put into the water tank. All automatically. And digging all this space doesn't solve the CO2 problem, it just delays my inevitable solution, which ultimately will be Slicksters. I think I might have mentioned this in one of the earlier episodes, but Slicksters are great for getting rid of carbon dioxide. You don't use them to produce oil, that's just a byproduct. They're mainly to turn a waste product, like CO2, into food. That's their biggest advantage. I think I might actually tackle this natural gas problem from both directions, so I'll open up more space at the bottom, and I'll try and pump some of this out. So I'll get a gas pump, maybe over on this side and over on this side. I will combine them together in this filter here. Filter out the natural gas. Send it down. And then I need to figure out what to do with everything else. I think I'll put another filter for oxygen. Run it back this way. These are going to be picking up a lot of oxygen, sour gas, and chlorine. But the two gases I'm concerned about is the natural and oxygen. Chlorine and sour gas, or well, really everything else could just go into a reservoir. I'll just put it over here for now. I'm hoping that the gases in this, when I deconstruct the tank, just pop into little bottles, like what happens with the liquid reservoirs. And that way I can just put all this sour gas and chlorine into some bottles. I would also like this second half of the oil biome to be dug out, so I'll issue some commands down here. Get all this dug out. But Freya and Sneaky are going to be quite busy for a while. Alright, that large cloud of natural gas is a significantly smaller cloud of natural gas now. I'm going to leave these pumps here, let them keep working. They need to get through the sour gas and the chlorine. Once the CO2 backs up to here, the carbon skimmer will actually start taking care of some of it. But it definitely won't be enough. These produce 500 grams of carbon dioxide. I've got 3 of them, so that's 1,500 grams, 1.5 kilos. But a carbon skimmer only works at 300, so I would need 5 carbon skimmers to keep up with these 3 generators. But with all of this space opening up over here, I can start thinking about the second water pipe. I think I might just come out right here, finagle my way through that mess. Let's see, this can go into you. And then into you, up there. Actually, I'll do it here, so that I can put in a ladder. That way the duplicants are guaranteed to reach it. This one, yeah, I guess same idea. I'll put a ladder here. Keep moving this way, into you, and into you. At power, I think I'll just run along this level. I'll just follow the water piping. These are only doing water at the moment, so I ran out of petroleum. Power is not looking great. Okay, I need to do... Now that I have this space here, I think I'm going to put in a few more generators. On a very high priority. I need to get power back online. And there's so much natural gas down here that I could take advantage of. There's no reason not to put in more generators. I still haven't quite figured out how I want to do this polluted water here. I think I might just seal this up, right up against the ceiling. And just have this pump out the polluted water. The problem is that it's gonna off-gas if it's not, like, full of water. So, right, the clean water here, I can very easily seal it up with a vacuum. Right, there's no atmosphere back there, it's just water. I can't do the same thing with this. But if I don't seal it off somewhere, then I'm gonna end up with polluted oxygen where I don't want it. And having polluted oxygen down here in the oil biome isn't great. I'd rather it just be natural gas. Eventually, all this sour gas and chlorine will get out of here. I could always just throw a gas pump in there if I really had to. Well, theoretically, if I leave this open to the atmosphere, and there's sufficient natural gas pressure down here, the polluted water can never off-gas. But there's always a chance that it does. Like if it's draining this tank and a pocket of free space opens up. I don't know, maybe I'm just paranoid. I do want to keep it insulated. I know that, because this is going to be at 30 degrees, but everything down here is going to be close to 100. So I'd rather this water not pick up any heat from down here before being shipped out. Why? Why? How are you stuck? What? What are you standing on? Wait, what? Why can't you move? I'm confused. What? Huh? Oh, okay. I guess she was just standing on an invisible tile and her pathing never updated? Alright. Do we not have any sand anymore? Why aren't these working? Nope, I've got almost 200 tons of sand. Okay, I guess my duplicants are just busy doing other stuff. What are you guys doing? If those sieves aren't working, then I can't get this gross water out of here, which means I can't get any space for more crude oil, which means I don't have any crude oil going into the refinery, which means I don't have any power. There we go. Got some action on these sieves again. You know, I think I might be in a position to start taking on more duplicants. I'm at almost the maximum for my oxygen production, so I'd need to make another spawn, which is running out of power. Why is that happening? Oh, right. Crude oil is still not getting down here. This spawn, when it's working, can supply 16 duplicants with oxygen. I want to use this space up here where I took out the reservoirs to get in some more beds. I think I'll copy this here since it's kind of like a prepackaged system. So that's 6 beds, and then the mess hall. I don't think I'm gonna need another digger to help out with this. Because, see, the problem with diggers, like, you need them early on, but once you dig out the map, the digging skill is completely irrelevant. So I would have to then scrub them, and then their interests don't align with what they're doing, and... Really, some of the best duplicants to take are just, builder operators. That's the majority of the tasks a base requires. I think I'm good on ranchers. Definitely good on chefs, probably for the rest of the game. I only need 1 doctor. I have a researcher. I guess I could take an artist. Yeah, I'll take an artist and then go into builder operators. Maybe another supplier too. Bubbles needs a little bit of help. So the next print in 2.5 cycles, I'll see what duplicants I can take. That means I'm going to need a second spawn over here, though. And I'll copy it identically. No reason to reinvent the wheel here. The piping is starting to get a little messy. I'll consolidate the hydrogen. That's an easy fix. As for oxygen, I think I'll just repeat the manifold. Well, the center of the map is going to be here. And with 2 spawns, that's 6 pipes of oxygen. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 would be everything. I might need to move these generators just to make the pipe work a little cleaner. So I'll go up to here. I want to keep the central column pattern in mind as well now. So I'll space this out with the transit tubes and everything. And I think it makes the most sense to actually run the hydrogen just back this way now, rather than all the way around and back. I don't need these buffer tanks anymore. Now that I'm getting into higher power consuming states for the base, some generators just need to be on constantly. And so that's the perfect hydrogen sink. As long as these have the highest priority for power production, hydrogen can never back up. Alright, there is my duplicant choice. I always take Liam as my artist. For some reason, he just looks the most artistic. So that will be supplying. Yeah, I guess that's fine. Decorating. I suppose when you're not painting stuff. Yeah, I guess supplying and suit wearing is fine. We'll give you interior decorator. Twinkle toes. Let's put some muscles on you, give you buff. I'm probably gonna need a few more positives to balance out these negatives. Let me see what the balance looks like. Sitting at -3. Need something positive to give you. How about innately stylish? That makes sense for an artist, right? Alright, we'll go ahead and print Liam here. And you will focus on decorating his first sculpture. It's inexplicable. That means I could also think about getting in some paintings in the bedrooms. Just along here is fine. Ooh, it's not symmetrical though. These are. So I'll just start decor bombing now that I have an artist. Just spammed paintings everywhere. Now I don't need any of this piping anymore. I'll get that out of the way. Clear up some space. I'm not gonna bother connecting these up to any automation at all, actually. There's no reason to. I'll just let them burn the hydrogen straight away. As long as the secondary power sources are connected to a battery, these are the ones I want to buffer up some of their fuel sources. So I want all of the hydrogen and natural gas to be consumed first. So really the only thing that needs limitation are the petroleum generators. And if I get rid of these tanks, well, that would actually open up some more space for another whole floor of duplicate housing. Now this obviously isn't going to be permanent here. I need to dig out more of the map to figure out where I want to put the permanent housing unit. But Freya and Stinky are still working on that. But this gives me a lot more space to work with piping now. I think it makes more sense to run this hydrogen up and around this way. Because then I could run oxygen out here, and out here. And this won't be in the way anymore. And I'll do that by bridging over that. That can just drop down to there, and that one can just drop down to there. And these will plug into their respective places on the manifold. Ideally, later on, these SPOMs will be right next to the housing units they need to supply. That way I don't have all of this excess piping going throughout the map. But for now, this is just what I have to do to make things work. New blueprint. Okay, this will be another builder operator. I guess I could take a Catalina. Let's modify you a little bit. Alright, go ahead and print you. Welcome to the base. You just got here. I just printed you, and you're already trapped. God damn duplicants. Alright, I think these are gonna curve up. Come up with these. So this one will go all the way to the end. That one goes to there. That one goes to there. That one goes to there. You go to there. And the final one goes to that one. Just a little bit of snipping here, and everything should be flowing in the correct direction. Alright, something like that. I actually don't even know if this is correct anymore. There's so much happening here. I have faith in myself, though. So I will get these hopefully connected up to their respective locations on the manifold. There's something mesmerizing about watching so much oxygen flow through pipes. Alright, all 6 pipes are flowing now. That'll get the base reoxygenated, and it'll get these filled back up down here. You can see pressure dropped, so all the gross gases came up a little bit higher. Now, I'd like to test if this pops into a canister or just the air. Oh, that is not good. Well, in that case, I would just need more of these reservoirs, I guess. Alright, now that I've got all of the oil wells on the left side of the map working here, I think it's time for a second oil refinery down here. So I'm going to move the metal refinery over to here. I do like this circulating setup, so I'll just copy it over here. So it'll just be the exact same design as on the right, just over on the left now. And this output needs to get over to this tank here. And I think I'll do that just by going through the floor here. So I'm going to need some bridges. That one points up. That one points up, and then these two point down. And I have just enough space to bring it over, connect into that pipe. And then it'll all go into this buffer here. So 2 pipes of crude oil ends up being 1 pipe of petroleum. Alright, there we go. Now I've got a full pipe. And since there's 2 refineries, it's okay if one has some downtime, because at least one will always be working. That'll help keep this tank full. How are we looking over here? Almost done, actually. And once this gets dug out, that'll basically be the entire oil biome. I do have some plans for this lava. I want to make a nice clean floor at the lowest oil well. So it looks like it would be right here. I'd need to drain some of this magma, or just compress it down, because I don't want these zigzags. I'd like a nice flat floor. Technically it doesn't really matter, because if the oil wells are submerged in like a little ravine, I guess this one would be a better example. Once this bottom part fills up with crude oil, it doesn't matter if the well is submerged, so anything it makes will just float up to the top at some equilibrium point. So I can get away with the zigzag abyssalite border between the magma and the oil biome. I just don't like the way it looks. Oh, you clever little bastard. No, your bed is over here. Alright, and there's the last 2 pieces there. So Builder's just going to come back, finish these ladders. I'm going to consider the oil biome done for now. I'll focus on exploring other parts of the map, like right here. I'll build in another floor of ladders above that. Check out this geyser here. I'll dig out everything but that tile there. Don't want it erupting on me if it's a volcano. But this tank has backed up completely with petroleum, so I don't think power is ever going to be a problem anytime soon. That's beautiful. Yeah, so I'll just keep issuing dig commands here. keep my duplicants busy. Wow, Camille here is almost perfect. Suit wearing, building, supplying. Just a natural spawn. The only thing I would change is supplying to operating, and that's a perfect builder operator. Obviously the traits are wrong, so we're gonna fix those. Alright, so just my generic builder that you've seen me craft a whole bunch of times already. Go ahead and print Camille. Get some extra hands on base. Now that I have the second spawn, the only thing limiting my duplicant increase is actually food production. So I'm keeping an eye on my calorie count. I'm not at the point where I could easily increase food production, but I am still getting some stuff decaying. So I'm trying to find that balance between having more duplicants to eat the food before it decays, but not having too many duplicants to where I overconsume my ranches here. I'm going to put in a couple more atmosuit docks, now that I have more duplicants that can actually use them. Just to help speed up some stuff down lower. I've got a lot of errands down here that need to get done. It means I'm going to need to make a couple more of these atmosuits. Sure, we can make them out of iron, that's fine. Alright, I think this will be the last duplicant for a while. I'll get someone to help Bubbles out. Maybe a turner. We'll go with a turner. So you'll be tidying, supplying, and suit wearing. We'll give you buff, twinkle toes. I actually forgot what I gave Bubbles. Bubbles, where are you? Buff, early bird, twinkle toes. Okay, so I just gave him a generic trait. Alright, welcome to the base turner. I want you to focus on supplying, storing, tidying. Let's see, Bubbles has double priority in tidying, so I guess we'll put your doubles in supplying and storing. We're finally getting close to breaking into this geyser here. I want to see what this is. It is a carbon dioxide geyser. Great. That's just what I wanted. Honestly, you know what? Just why not? Go ahead. Vent to the atmosphere. There's so much carbon dioxide down here already. I don't know why, but looking at this plant makes me so uncomfortable. They're like a bunch of little fingers. You know what? I take back what I said about not being able to take on more duplicants because of food. If I look at carbon dioxide pressure here, it's at 10 kilos, even with all of the excavation that's going on. So I think I'll start a little Slickster farm. So Slicksters like it somewhere between 50 and 140. Temperature here is, I guess, within that range. I can see a little bit more of the map, so I know spacing-wise where I can put things. I could also just leave it open to the atmosphere. The problem is that the Slicksters will drop their crude oil onto the ground here and be picked up by these pumps, and then I would need another filter. And if I isolate everything, then Slickster food production is intrinsically tied to power consumption. I just need something to eat up all this CO2. Okay, I'm gonna make a little Slickster farm here. So I'll get a grooming station and a drop-off. And then I could honestly just run this pump down to here with a vent and just drop all the crude oil onto the floor here. I don't actually have all that many Slicksters left. I really need to ranch them before they go extinct. Here's a couple. And there's one trapped in there. These two have been bobbing for their lives for a while. The problem is that if I wrangle them, they immediately start drowning, so I need another duplicant to hurry up and pick them up. Let's see, so Marie's gonna wrangle them here. And they immediately start drowning. Yeah, I need you... relocate... here. Can I change that priority? Ah, I can. So if I go to the relocate icon, I can change it to yellow. And then Marie should grab... Okay, it's not drowning anymore. Excellent. Wow, you're hungry. Let's get this dugout so I can get a duplicant down there. It looks like a Slickster will eat 20 kilograms of CO2 per cycle. And assuming constant uptime on the generators at 500 grams a second, if you multiply that by the 600 seconds in a cycle, that is 300 kilos per cycle, and 300 divided by 20 is 15. I would need 15 Slicksters per generator. Now I can fit 7 in a farm, well, technically 8, but I like to run my farms at 7. That way it gives a little bit of a buffer. So that's 2, I'll just round that to two farms per generator. So that would be 6 tall. It's gonna take a while to fully populate all these farms off of just these 4 Slicksters I have here. But you have to start somewhere, I guess. Now, I know I destroyed your home, but you don't belong here anymore. Let's get you up to here. I've planned out all of the ranches here. I'm considering putting in some incubators for the Slickster eggs, just to get this populated more quickly. I do need to be careful about their placement, so if I just let the baby Slicksters run across this entire floor, they might drop some crude oil here, and then it'll spill over. So I'm going to put some doors to keep everything contained in here. And then just to make sure nothing breaks, I'll make these out of steel, because I've got plenty of steel now. Oh, I've actually got an egg incubating already. 2. I got 2 eggs incubating already. Nice. So I'll just keep digging out more of the map here. I want to get up to this geyser, because then I can just pump that straight down into here, or, well, maybe I'll just run it into these straight away. I'll take free power whenever I can get it. You know, maybe I put you with your friends. I noticed a cluster of poke shells down here. I went ahead and just connected this up to the main piping here. I noticed I'm a little low on water, so I'm trying to find more sources. It's all going down into crude oil. Got a lot of crude oil saved up. I could think about taming this as well. I just don't think the infrastructure required is worth it at this point yet. I'd rather tame easier geysers first. The natural gas vent here will produce a tiny bit of water once it's run through the generators. But these Slicksters have been really busy. I've got this ranch starting to populate here. They'll do a great job of eating up all this CO2. Oh god, there's more of them. I'm not seeing any geysers over here though, just that natural gas geyser. I think maybe once I get this connected up, I'll probably end the episode there. There's a lot of things that happened, and it's just taking my duplicants so long to get all this done. But if you look at it, that is a lot of space they cleared out. Moving forward, I think Slicksters will actually be my main food source. The number of pips and sage hatches I can have are dependent on the number of arbor acorns I have, because there's a really nice closed loop I can make using wild planted arbor trees. And I did do a little research and figured out the exact ratio of pips to sage hatches. It would take 7 farms, or 7 ranches of pips to feed 1 ranch of sage hatches. So if I take the number of acorns I have on this map, divide by 3, and then divide by 7, that would give me the exact number of sage ranches I can have. And then there'll also be pips in the mix as well there. And it looks like I have 29 of these still, which is like 9 more pip ranches, which is a whole extra sage ranch. So this is going to take up a lot of space. I'm still working on exploring. I could put them down in this section. The atmosphere doesn't matter. I'm just not sure if this is where I want to house some duplicants yet or not. Big decisions like duplicant housing is going to require the entire map to be exposed, unless I want to move stuff. The problem is that it's so intricate. There's so much extra layering to the housing unit with all the piping and the plumbing and... oh, what's happening? So if I just put in like a temporary place with all that layering, it would take a while to move it somewhere else. I'd rather just figure out where I want to put it permanently. If it wasn't so elaborate, I wouldn't feel too bad about moving it later. Based on how slowly this was dug out, I think I might need an extra digger in the next episode, just to keep things moving along. This map is huge. There is so much to dig out. Now this geyser's output will be at 150 degrees, so I have to use a steel pump here. I do something really simple. Just seal this up. And the most space efficient way of doing this, I think, would be like this. Now, since this is so hot, I think using a joint plate would be a mistake. I'm gonna go for some conductive wiring that leads all the way back to over here, because then I can put in a transformer just right here and connect it up to that. This does need at least one Atmos sensor though, because there is a minimum threshold where the pump is just really inefficient. I don't want it pumping tiny little packets. For now, I think this output can just run down this way. And then over. Now I might change its flow direction later, just to avoid any stuff I build down here. I don't know if it's better to just go straight to the center and just have like all of the transportation handled through the center. Because then I can't really put anything in this area, because there'd be a pipe going through it. I suppose it'll just all depend on where I can put everything else. And this will become active in 17 cycles. With an average output of 94 grams a second, that's basically one whole generator for free. Because these consume 90 grams a second. See, this one does 126. So that's a little over 2 free generators from these 2 geysers. Alright, this is all sealed up now. I do want this pump to pull a vacuum in this room, so if this is ever above 0, for now, I want this pump to work. And it can just output here. It's got, almost 16 cycles to clean this out. Once it's a vacuum, then I'll go ahead and set this to work if pressure is ever above probably like 2,000 grams, 2 kilos. That way it ensures the pump is moving mostly full packets. Alright, vacuum has been acquired. I'll set this to 2 kilos. Now it's primed and ready for this to erupt. They're almost done with the gas pipe here. But I'll do a quick recap of everything I got done in this episode. I took out the hydrogen reservoirs here. They weren't necessary anymore. Moved the generators up a level. Put in a second spawn so that I could take on more duplicants here. So we got Catalina, Liam, and Turner. Just so that I'd have a little bit more duplicant labor available to me. I cleaned out the majority of the oil biome now. Got a giant oil lake here that I can use for power. I've started digging out more of the map. It's going to take me quite a long time to get through the rest of everything else. And then one of the last things I did here was plan out a little Slickster farm. This location is almost certainly temporary. I doubt I'll leave it right here next to the transportation column. I'll probably do a more intricate design later, involving petroleum generators running really hot. That way they output steam instead of polluted water. And if they're in the same room as the Slicksters, well, eventually I do want molten Slicksters. They have a better ratio. That is only if you're using a refinery to do all of your refining. If you have a proper petroleum boiler, then it doesn't matter if you run molten Slicksters or regular Slicksters, because it's still a 1-to-1. Which might actually be easier, because then I could run the generators really cold. Well, not too cold. Because the Slicksters do need to stay somewhere between 50 and 140 degrees. But the permanent plan for a Slickster ranch would involve petroleum generators, hot or cold, haven't decided yet, in a sealed box, so that all of the CO2 they make can go straight to the Slicksters. I'll end up with crude oil and polluted water at the bottom, but I could always just filter that out with some liquid filters. And that might not be a bad plan for next episode. I actually made a whole lot of ceramic with these kilns over the course of this episode, so that would give me a lot of material to work with. But that is all I have time for in this episode, so I hope you learned something. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.